Well, good evening, folks, and we open tonight's show with a moving tribute to the late Billy Muir, and those were scenes from the Geelong Rangers Craigieburn City game played on the weekend at Myers Reserve. Good evening, my name is Tonchi Prusak, and I will be with you for the next 60 minutes or so. We've got a very, very special show tonight. A little bit later on, we'll be catching up with the all-time games record holder at the Geelong Rangers, Martin Guilfoyle. And he'll give us his own little take, his own little tribute to the late Billy Muir, who indeed was a club legend at Geelong Rangers and sadly passed away just last week. Also on the show tonight, we've got a real story that could have had a tragic ending, but has resulted in quite a triumphant one. ANTE KELIC moved to Geelong about 2.5 years ago with his wife, Kaya, and they live now in Bellbrae. And he was a promising footballer whose life took a turn for the worse when he was 17 years of age, and he found out that he would need a liver transplant, or otherwise his life would be quite dire. He ended up getting a liver transplant and has become a very good footballer in his younger days. He has just recently been selected for the Australian national team for the inaugural Transplant World Cup in Italy next month in September. And Ante will also be joining us this evening to talk about his selection in the Australian national team and fulfilling a lifelong dream. In addition to that, on the weekend, North Geelong Warriors captain Ryan Oppermann played his final home game in the red, white and blue at Alco Park in front of the home fans. He will be playing this week against Melbourne City away in his final game, but next year he'll be moving interstate for work purposes. And we will also be catching up with Ryan, who has spent 7 illustrious seasons at Alco Park, and we'll talk a little bit about his journey there and what the future holds for Ryan Oppermann. We've got a massive, massive show, as I said, and a big shout out to our major sponsor, the Gordon. Without the Gordon, certainly none of this would be possible, and we really, really appreciate their support this year. We've got lots to get through tonight, folks, so without further ado, here's our first commercial break, and then straight after that, we launch into the news desk.
Your future is in your hands. There is a whole world waiting for you, and your choices determine how you will impact it. At the Gordon, we recognise this. That's why we champion hands-on learning. Get your hands dirty. Grab what's in front of you. Learn by doing. Turn your passion, your ideas, and mould them into your creations. You'll be supported the entire way. You'll grow your skills in small classes guided by teachers who are industry experts. You'll learn in state-of-the-art facilities or out in a real-world workplace setting. Your hands-on experience will increase your understanding and put you ahead of your university peers. You'll graduate work-ready and you'll graduate sooner, with a huge range of qualifications to choose from and support services to enable your success. Now is the time to continue your learning journey. At the Gordon, your future is in your hands.
Yes, welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. As I said at the start of the show, it is episode 147, our 22nd episode for the year. After today, we've got 3 more episodes culminating in our season finale, 150th episode, which I'm promising you is going to be a huge one. It will be a live 2-hour show, details yet to be confirmed. Let's first of all turn our attention to the media watch and what is happening in the local media. Last week was a big bumper week for soccer in the local media. First of all, in Thursday's edition of the Geelong Advertiser, clubs pay tribute to dedicated servant, and there was an article there by Ben Cameron looking at the late Billy Muir and his contribution to the Geelong Rangers Soccer Club. There was also a very obscure article, Confused Clubs Query Game Being Abandoned. Rivals socialise after the ref's big call. And once again, Ben Cameron wrote a piece in the Geelong Advertiser about a local league Geelong men's Division 3 game between Armstrong United and Corio. Getting into the news, their game was cancelled after 70 minutes after the referee felt that things could escalate, and after a few heated calls. And players from both teams were left rather perplexed afterwards, and they discussed it all afterwards in the club rooms. So very, very strange thing there. On Friday, energised Lions all set to roar in bid for promotion. The Geelong State League clubs go into the final 5 rounds of the season with mixed intentions. Some looking to avoid relegation, others content to finish the season as high as possible. And there was an article there about the Geelong Soccer Club. Then it went on to Saturday's edition, Warriors sad to lose skipper. And Ryan Opperman, the North Geelong Warriors captain, was set to play his final game in front of his home fans on Saturday against Caroline Springs George Cross. In today's edition, a late equaliser trips Geelong and club's promotion hopes kept alive. South Coast, Lara United and Deakin Ducks all had valuable wins on the weekend to keep their promotion hopes alive, while Geelong suffered a minor stumble with a draw in State League action on the weekend. And then also over the weekend, the Surf Coast Times ran an article about one of our guests tonight. Bellbrae resident carries transplant message to Italy. ANTE KELIC, who now calls Bellbrae home, has been selected in the Australian national team for the Transplant World Games, the inaugural Transplant World Games, which will be held in Italy. And a little bit later on in the show, we will be speaking to the man himself about the upcoming Transplant World Games. In the meantime, let's turn our attention to the Victorian Premier League. North Geelong Warriors came up against Caroline Springs George Cross. 1-1 was the result, and Ryan Opperman, the man of the moment, playing his last game in front of his home fans for North Geelong Warriors, scored the Warriors opener. George Cross levelled in the second half. This weekend, the Warriors, who are already relegated to VPL 2 for next season, they come up against Melbourne City, who are 5th at Casey Fields. That game kicks off at 3 p.m, essentially a dead rubber. Melbourne Victory have been promoted into NPL next year, and second place Preston Lions could also join Melbourne Victory in next season's elite statewide competition. Geelong Galaxy came up against the might of Casey Comets on the weekend, And in round 18 of the VPLW, they came back with a 5-0 loss. Galaxy, who slipped now to 9th position on the standings, they host Melbourne University, who are 7th at Hume Reserve this Sunday at 3 p.m. in what is going to be a round 19 fixture. Okay, let's turn our attention now to State League 1 action. And Geelong took an early lead through Rory McKeon, but Western Suburbs scored late in the day to rob Geelong 2 valuable points. Here's some footage of Rory McKeon's absolute blast. Brilliant goal. That was an absolute fantastic goal. And as we said, Geelong dropped points, valuable points, but there is the light at the end of the tunnel was the two teams, Whittlesea United, who are first, and Brimbank Stallions, who are second, also dropped points. Sydenham Park defeated Corio 2-1 with Billy Ardura scoring Corio's only goal. Geelong Rangers, they scored a memorable 2-0 win over Craigieburn City, tributing that win to the late Billy Muir, Anthony Piratina and Takahashi scoring the goals for the Rangers. In State 4, Bell Park defeated Westside Strikers, Marinovic and Hernandez getting the goals for the All Whites. Bowen and Truganina fought out a 1-1 draw with Davis scoring the goal for Bowen. And Surf Coast move a step closer to claiming the State League 4 title with a 2-0 win over Barnstone Worth United. Luka Jurkovic and Kuriyanagi scoring the goals for the Coasters. They only need a draw in their next game, which will be at home and which will be against second-place Keilor Wolves, and they will be crowned champions. More on that just a little bit later. State League 5. Deakin Ducks did their promotion hopes absolutely no harm with a 6-2 thumping of Tane United. Kalimbi scoring 3. Wyeth scoring 2. He's now got 17 goals, which is the same as Lara United's Tristan McGrath, but he's out of action for the rest of the season. So Sam Wyeth's got a golden opportunity to capture the Golden Boot Award as well. And Byron Interissi scoring the other goal for Deakin. For Lara United, that should be Kuipers, not Jipers. Josh Kuipers scoring a hat-trick. Mayondo 1 and Oscar Mayondo another goal. 5-0 win over ETA Buffalo. Lara United are looking very, very good. 8 points clear at the top, and they are looking very, very good to claim that State 5 title. They will be in State 4 next year, and Deakin Ducks certainly could be the same, and we could see 4 Geelong teams in State League 4 next year, with Bowen and Bell Park staying up in State 4. And Surf Coast set to move to State 3. Ocean Grove travelled to Bendigo and came away with a 6-2 loss for Veta, and Honeyford scoring those goals for the visitors. Let's look ahead to this weekend in State League 1. Upfield hosts Geelong, so it's 6th versus 3rd at Gibb Reserve. Corio could do Geelong a huge favour. They need a win to get out of that bottom 2. Even though it's only the bottom side that gets relegated, they'll certainly be keen to get out of the bottom 2. And it starts with a home game against second-place Brimbank Stallions. A win is needed here for Corio. And Brimbank also are very desperate to get a win because it's the top 2 in State 1 that will get promoted to next year's VPL2 competition. And we're all hoping that Geelong can get promoted. And then next year we will see Geelong and North Geelong playing the big derbies twice next year. In State 2, Hume United, who are in 8th, they host Geelong Rangers in 11th spot. That game at Laura Douglas Reserve is going to be kicking off at the later time of 6 p.m. In State 4, as we said, top of the table clash. This is where Surf Coast could clinch the league title. They come up against second-place Keilor Wolves. A massive crowd is expected for this game. Banyawari Reserve kick-off at 5 p.m. Just down the road at Grovedale Reserve, Bowen taking on Melton Phoenix, 9th versus 3rd. Balmoral, who are 4th, they host Bell Park, who are in 10th position, and that game kicks off at 5:30 p.m. So some late games there in the State League 4. In State League 5, Deakin Ducks host ETA Buffalo. They need to keep winning. It's important with, 3 games to go, that they win all of their remaining games in order to secure second spot and a promotion berth. Ocean Grove travels to 6th placed Spring Hills. That's at Springside Recreational Reserve and also kicking off at 3 p.m. And then Lara United travels to 7th placed Wyndham FC at Victoria University Hoppers Lane. Dare I say a draw or certainly a win will secure the league title for Lara. So a lot of important games coming up on the weekend in the men's State League competition. In the women's State League competition, 2 wins from 2 games for our Geelong ladies. In State League 1 Northwest, North Geelong travelled to Caroline Springs, and unlike the men who could only draw at home the day previously, the women came away with a thumping 6-0 win. Now get this, young Anastasia Simic scored 4 goals. Last week she scored 5 goals in 30 minutes. This time she scored 4 goals, and the teenager is just running rampant. She's only, I think, 14 years of age. She is an absolute star of the future. Louisa Kump also scoring a goal, and Marcela Fierro also for the Warriors. Round 16 action this weekend sees the Warriors, who are in 3rd, host bottom-placed Brunswick Zebras 10th. Not only is a win important here, but also they need to secure a good goal difference if they want to move up into second spot, with Mill Park still, I think, 3 points clear of North Geelong Warriors in that second position. In State League 2, Rangers defeated Altona East Phoenix. Well done to the Rangers women, 2-1. And they're certainly running into some very good form at the tail end of the season. Cope scored that goal scored both goals, in fact, for the Rangers. A very emotional weekend for the Geelong Rangers Football Club up at Myers Reserve, and certainly a very triumphant one as well, with both the senior men's and the senior women's recording wins. This weekend, Rangers travel to 4th placed Sydenham Park to take on Sydenham Park at Keilor Lodge Reserve, and those games kicking off at 3 p.m. All right, folks, well, we're going to take a short commercial break, and when we return, our first guest will be ANTE KELIC, who has just made the Australian national team for the World Transplant. Good evening and welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show podcast. And it's time now for our first guest for tonight. But before we do that, we're going to play a little bit of a video clip from about 7 years ago where Archie Thompson, the great Archie Thompson, former Melbourne Victory legend, he held an interview with our next guest, ANTE KELIC. And this is it's quite a touching 2-minute video, and it's like a little bit of an intro clip to our tonight's guest.
Tell us a little bit about your condition and when you were diagnosed.
So I was basically 17 years old, was diagnosed with a condition called primary sclerosing cholangitis, PSC for short. It's a very slow progressing disease, and like every, youngster who grew up playing soccer, had aspirations to try and play at an elite level. Trying to play seniors, that kind of thing, I was always on medications which affected my weight. I wanted to play soccer, that's what I wanted to do, but unfortunately because of my health, I didn't get to live that. When I actually was told that I needed a liver transplant, it's quite difficult to deal with. It's a bit concerning for all the family and all your friends, knowing that if you don't get one, the consequences could be pretty dire. I did get a call 4 months from the date that I was activated on the transplant list. Went to the hospital in the morning, walked into the room, in tears, thinking it's going to happen. After an agonising 6 or 7 hours, we were told that it didn't go ahead. It was a difficult day, that one, because my wife, Kay, was pregnant, and we'd been trying for 2.5, 3 years to have a child, not knowing whether I'd actually make it to be around for the birth of our daughter. It was quite difficult. 4 months after that, the transplant coordinator gave me a call and said there may be another match. Having to say goodbye to my family before actually knowing I was going to have the surgery was a bit of a weird situation, but thankfully it all went well. 24 hours, my jaundice has disappeared, my eyes were white, felt an immediate difference. One organ donation can help to improve the lives of up to 10 people. Watching my daughter Eva grow, it's been the best 2 years of my life. Without the generous donation I received from my donor, I wouldn't have been able to live that.
And it's a very warm welcome to the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Bellbrae resident and newly selected Australian National Football team member for the World Transplant Games, ANTE KELIC. Ante, good evening, and how are you?
I'm good, Tonji. How are you going?
Very well, mate. Very well. Thank you for joining us here on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. Before we talk about the World Transplant Football Cup, or the Transplant Football World Cup, and your selection in the Australia team, you're a resident of Bellbrae, but you're actually originally a Melbourne boy, yourself and your wife, and you came down here a couple of years ago. But you come from a very famous footballing family. Let's talk a little bit about that. But how long have you been here in Geelong, and how did you sort of come about to decide to live in Geelong?
Yeah, so it's been about 2.5 years. We obviously moved. I grew up in St Albans, obviously playing at St Albans Dynamo as a junior my whole life, and then we after COVID and obviously just with work and everything that was going on in life, we decided to basically just have a different pace, I guess, and a different upbringing for our children. In that we wanted a little bit more nature and a bit more land. Similar way that we grew up back in the in the 80s and 90s, where they spend more time outside. So that was a big push for us to try and get the kids outside. And I think I just wanted to slow down with work, and that was kind of the main reason.
Yeah. Now, as you said, you come from a very famous footballing family. Your brother Ivan was well-known NSL striker, played for the Melbourne Knights and later at South Melbourne as well. And you yourself, growing up back in the days, you were a very, very talented footballer, but then tragedy sort of struck around about the age of 17, didn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I, from the age of 17, I was diagnosed with a liver condition, out of the blue, really. Got home from school one day, was feeling unwell, went to the doctors and had some blood tests done. And from then on, basically, I had, was diagnosed with a liver condition. But then subsequently, a year after that, I ended up in hospital, and then had Crohn's disease as well. So it was kind of, a digestive issue as well as a liver issue. And at that time I was, breaking through the seniors, playing under Mickey Peterson at St Albans Dynamo. But, I guess with all the treatments that happen as you are, trying to get on top of these different illnesses and diseases, the different side effects. So I'm, at my time after I went to Green Gully under Ian Dobson, I decided to just give it a rest and obviously let my health, focus on my health, because I was, with all the medications I was on, I was really, not very mobile, and it was affecting obviously my performance and stuff. So, unfortunately, I didn't get to pursue, I guess, the semi-professional career that I wanted in the NPL or in the Premier League back then. But fortunately enough, I'm quite healthy now and trying to make up for it, I guess, at 44.
Yeah, so in the prime of your footballing career, so to speak, you're 17 and it's been cruelly cut short by this degenerative disease. And you were basically told you'd need a transplant, or otherwise, things were going to be rather bleak for you. And as we saw from that little introductory video with Archie Thompson, can you believe 7 years have passed since then?
I know, it's so quick, yeah.
Time flies, but then obviously, ups and downs of all of that. First time there was a bit of a strikeout, but then you did manage to
Yeah.
get the transplant, and to say that was life changing is just an understatement, isn't it?
Oh, without a doubt, Tonchi. It's as a youngster growing up, it's really not something that I ever thought about. Transplants in general, but obviously with the life-saving gift that I've been afforded, and like I said, that first dummy run, they call it, when you were called for a transplant, you're thinking to yourself, oh, it's going to happen soon, because the way it works is basically on how sick a person is in terms of what the order, in terms of which they get a transplant. So being 4 months after I got listed, I was, my mindset was, okay, well, it's going to happen soon. It's going to happen soon. And then it didn't. It was another 3 months. So really the mental aspect of it at that point was really quite challenging, because your life's on hold. You're basically waiting. You can feel your from a physical perspective, you're deteriorating. You're not feeling well. And like I said, for us, it was an extra added stress because Kaya was pregnant with our daughter Eva, and as you can imagine, as a first-time dad, it's pretty scary not knowing whether you're going to be around for the birth of your daughter. So thankfully, it all went well with the surgery, and Eva arrived 4 months later.
It's such a beautiful story in the end, but it certainly could have been such a tough and a tragic story in many ways. But the good news doesn't stop there. Look, Geelong is renowned as having been the home of many Socceroo greats. We talk about Steve Horvath, we talk about Josip Skorko and the Socceroos. In more recent times, I guess we've even got Adrian Lay as well, who lives down Torquay Way and heavily involved with Curva coaching. And in recent times, I guess we've got a Matilda in Kyra Cooney Cross from Jan Juck.
Yeah.
But I guess, mate, you're now added to that list as an Australian national team representative. And, mate, we're going to adopt you as a Geelong out-and-out Geelongian. You've been here for 2 years, so you qualify for that. But, selected for the the Australian national team for the inaugural football. Is it Transplant Football World Cup?
Transplant Football World Cup. Yeah,
that's
right.
next month in Italy, in Cervia. Mate, tell us about this and how this has come about.
Yeah, so this was meant to actually go ahead in 2020, but obviously stopped in its tracks due to COVID. So the actual Transplant Football Club was created by the ex-chairman, who was the late Matty Hemstork. Unfortunately, Matty passed away in 2022 suddenly, but he was the driver behind creating the football club. He was a two-time kidney transplant recipient.
Yep.
And he was really passionate about the sport, but also getting people actively involved after transplant. In general, just keeping fit and healthy. He actually worked for Transplant Australia at the time. And he, along with Chris Thomas, the CEO of Transplant Australia, created a football commission at the World Transplant Games Federation, and basically put in, a submission to come up with this idea to have a Transplant Football World Cup. And I guess they made it happen. You know what I mean? It was, like I said, it was planned for 2020, but stopped in its tracks. But, once everything kind of, slowed down in terms of the COVID restrictions, we went back into planning mode. And, we this year held a national camp and trials for the World Cup. And we had quite a few people, I think 55 people from around Australia, who submitted interest in being involved with the club. And I think we had 30 odd people at the trials, which was great. Mm-hmm. And that was held under at Valentine Sports Park in the home of Football New South Wales. And
yes.
We had former A-League player Josh Rose was the coach that helped us through the selections. And that was obviously a process that in March, and then we made these selections for the team. I think it was in April, and ever since then we've kind of been in planning to, for this, obviously the inaugural World Cup, which I think this time there is about 11 teams participating. And for the first one, I think that's a great effort to obviously get everyone involved.
Fantastic! That is absolutely awesome. Now there's a website here, and obviously one of the purposes of this also is to raise awareness of donations. And there it is. You can help out, donatelife.gov.au. So those who can donate, please do so. And if you can't, please help raise awareness. And I think you made a point, was it in that video, one organ donor can save up to 10 lives as well. And that's quite an incredible statistic.
Yeah, I think the updated figures, I think nowadays are more like 7. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing in terms of the impact that one organ donation can have. But more importantly, I think what happens is sometimes the family don't know the wishes of the individuals, and obviously at a time of grief, when you're dealing with a death of a loved one, sometimes those wishes don't get honoured. So a lot of people do register, but more importantly, it's also important to let your family and your loved ones know of your wishes, so that when that time, if it does come, obviously they know to honour what obviously you want to do.
Yeah, mate. Congratulations on your selection. Fantastic.
Thanks, Tonchi.
And for all the things that you do for the raising awareness of donor transplants, a donor is just amazing. So well done to you as well. And it's great to see. And we look forward to seeing you around the Geelong football community for many, many years to come.
Well, I'll be playing in the Masters League this year, so I'm sure I'll see many of you around.
Excellent. And who are you playing for, if you don't mind us asking?
I'm unsure. I'm unsure as yet. There's a few people knocking on the door, so we'll have to see.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's great to see. So look forward to that. Ante, all the best in Italy and all the best for the future as well.
Thank you, Tonchi, and thanks for your time.
Good on you. Ante Kelic, the newest Socceroo, the newest Australian national team representative here in Geelong. We're going to certainly claim him as one of our own. Folks, don't go away. We're going to be back very, very shortly with our next guest. It is the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
Hi, I'm Joe Gergich.
And I'm Helena Fantella.
And welcome to our family here at Harcourts.
Welcome back to the Geelong Region Soccer Show, and it is time now for our next guest tonight. He's synonymous with North Geelong Warriors. This is his 7th season now, and during that time, he's captured the best and fairest twice. He's been the runner-up on 2 occasions, and of course, there's still the 2024 season to come. It could be 3 best and fairest. You never know, but this will be his last year at Alco Park, donning the famous red, white and blue kit of the North Geelong Warriors. And on the weekend, he played his final game in front of his home fans. And this weekend, he'll play his final game for the Warriors when they travel to Melbourne City away. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome to the show Ryan Oppermann. Ryan, good evening. How are you?
Yeah, good, Tonchi. Thanks for having us.
It was a bit of a bittersweet moment yesterday because obviously the team did really, really well against Caroline Springs George Cross, but unfortunately the team has been relegated, and it was your last home game of the season. But just before half-time, we saw a fantastic bit of play that resulted in you scoring a goal. Take us through this goal, by the way.
Yeah, look, we spoke about it at half-time, there hasn't been many chances throughout the year that we've actually caught a team on the counter. Just found myself in a position to go forward, and I think that first pass was meant to go through to me, but Cassian played a good flick on, and then just had to a bit of composure in front of goals, and lucky enough I went through. So good way to obviously end my cap at Alco Park, getting on the score sheet and right on half time. So gave me a bit of time to recover from the run.
for the next year, the next half year. Unfortunately, the boys weren't able to hold out for a 3-pointer win. Would have been a fantastic way to send you off, but nonetheless, a 1-1 draw against a very, very good, very tough George Cross side. The season bit of a downer, unfortunately, but look, one of the positives, I guess, that has been the introduction of a lot of younger players, a lot of teenagers, and I guess you were, obviously being the captain there. But we saw what Stuart Begg said about you in the Geelong Advertiser over the weekend. You were a real mentor, a real leader on and off the field. Did you enjoy that, or would you have preferred to just focus on your own game? And I mean, you're not that old of a player, so I mean, you're still at that stage where you could really just focus on your own game. But did you enjoy being kind of a bit of a daddy figure to a lot of players on and off the park?
Yeah, it's a little strange because I've been in when I was obviously a lot younger. You had players that were in their 30s, mid 30s, that were sort of taking on that leadership role. So I found myself in that older role quite early in my career. I guess just through the natural progress of North Geelong and introducing a lot of young talent early on. So I've been in obviously the VPL system back then and the NPL system for quite some time. So that maturity came across pretty early in my career, and I was able to gain a lot of knowledge through past players that I've played with, and trying to pass that down to the younger generation. We're fortunate enough at North Geelong. I think it's quite evident the youth system that we do have and the influx of talent that they have coming up through the ranks. And yeah, it's been disappointing, obviously, the year, but I think that's one highlight that we've definitely taken away is that ability to put on the field a lot of young players.
Now, mate, you seem to have been around forever and a day. I mean, obviously, you've been at North Geelong for 7 years, and it'd be quite rude to say you're a veteran, but that's what it sort of comes across. But you're only 27, mate. You've had such an illustrious career already. You started off at Rangers Juniors, is that right?
Yeah, so I started off at Rangers, 29. I wish I was 27.
29, sorry, is it?
I started off at Rangers early in my juniors career, and then I went up to Melbourne pretty early on, around my under-16s, and then was on Essendon Royals, and then went up to Richmond back in VPL days, and that's where I made my senior debut, and then was fortunate enough to work under Eckers, who was coaching for Sunshine George Cross on the weekend at Port Melbourne for a handful of years, which was really good, and I gained a lot of experience. And then through injuries and I guess getting older and work-life balance, decided to stay in Geelong, and was fortunate enough to play under Stuart with Rangers for just over half a year, and then that progressed across to North Geelong, I think 2017 when that was, so, and been there ever since.
And that was you were coming back from an injury, weren't you? Was it a knee injury or something like that?
I've torn my hamstrings about 3 times while I was in Melbourne. So I just had to sort of take a bit of a break and let the body heal it properly. And then it hasn't been really much of a concern since.
And when you came to North Geelong, that was what, 2017? Yeah. It was certainly a completely different situation than it is today, I guess, with the players that were around, the coaches that were around, even the club administrators as well. So you've seen a lot of changes at Alco Park. You've seen many coaches come and go. You've seen many players come and go. Let's talk about coaches. Who have been some of the coaches that have had a real big influence on you? And maybe not just North Geelong, but even during your stint down in Melbourne.
Yeah, look, I had the first coach at Richmond was Rick Menzick, who introduced me to the senior environment, which saw me get my debut for them in the VPL. And then Eric, who was my coach at Port Melbourne, sort of really gave me that continuous senior playing experience. Played against North a couple of times.
Yep.
And that was a real sort of real change in my sort of playing style and that senior environment and getting that.
And that was Eric Vasiliadis, the George Cross coach. Yeah,
correct. Yes, and then obviously coming to Geelong, I knew who Stuart Begg was. Obviously watched him when I was younger at North Geelong. And then coming across, we had, who was it? Luciano was my first coach at North Geelong, and he sort of set the tone really for that professional environment. I think one time we were training like 6 days a week during,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he's come from that top level of coaching.
How did the players react to that? Like at the time, can you remember? Cast your mind back.
Look, it was definitely talked about during
Yeah.
the change rooms, But I think we had a very young and local team, and I think what separated us there wasn't much expectations for us going into that year because I think there was a high turnover of players. I think the only two players was Marco Stavagna and Michael Anderson at the time that had been there from the previous season.
Yep.
So they had a high turnover, but they decided to bring a lot of local Geelong players and a few of their 21s players at the time. And I think being able to train 5 to 6 days a week really gave us that advantage come game day, not only from a physical standpoint, but also, repetition, being able to play and gel together so much during the week at training.
And since then, I guess you had who else did you have?
We had Gags, we've had Stu, we had obviously Joey.
Joey Diddlitzer, yep.
And James Coots was a big one for me.
Yep.
I think he mentored Stu in a lot of ways during those early years. I think he was there for 2 years. He played coach at one point as well. But I think his knowledge on the game is one of the best that I've come across. His ability to work with players as well, and that player management was top tier.
So some incredible influences there off the field, some mentors, and no doubt some of them certainly shaped you with your game and your leadership qualities as well. Players, there's been some incredible players over the last 7 years that have played at Alco Park. That some have gone on to international stardom, so to speak. That we talk about the Skoko brothers as well.
Yeah.
But who are some of the players that you kind of really stick in your mind for various ways, various reasons?
I think that, you have your standouts, like even Sergio this year, what he's accomplished in his career. Darius at the time, Darius Madison, who was come across from the States, and his ability to influence a game just on his own bat. You could give him the ball and he can do wonders with it. But I think the most thing that stands out for me is the core group of players that we've had that are Geelong based over the last 5 to 6 years that have really stuck together through the ups and downs, and that's sort of created what the culture we have. We're not a team of necessary superstar players that have been around for a long period in terms of 10, 20 years. Mm-hmm. But what we've been able to create is that culture of core group of players. So myself, Anthony Banavac, Hamish, Cozzy at the time. We've had Georgie, Stoz. So we've had a really good core group of guys that have sort of stuck together and really created a foundation that we hope, can pass on to these younger players that are coming through now, like your Pez's, your Diddlichers, and the like.
Yeah. Now, what was the reaction when you broke the news in the dressing room that you're most likely not going to come back next year? You decided to move interstate for work purposes. How was that received?
Look, I kept it pretty low key. It wasn't something that I was anticipating going into the year. Definitely not. But over the last couple of months, it's something that's sort of come about, and we've just been waiting, I guess, to hear news from my work side of things. But yeah. Look, when I first told Stu, I think he didn't really think there was much truth to it. I guess there still wasn't 100% certain. I think he was probably hoping that it wasn't 100%.
Yep.
Look, it's bittersweet, and obviously I didn't really say anything until I think Friday. I put something out that really sort of made it really confirmed the situation. And then obviously spoke to the boys and Stu on game day, and then the boys had some nice words, and it was an emotional day, definitely. But look, I'll leave behind a young group of boys, and hope the club can continue on its work that they've done to date.
Yeah, and we saw it was a very emotional day at your boyhood club at Geelong Rangers as well. They farewelled Billy Muir, an absolute club legend, and one thing that I get a chance to talk to a lot of people from a lot of different clubs is the characters, the people that make this football community hours of Geelong, such a wonderful place, and I'm sure that's going to be a draw card for you, because one day you'll probably return and you'll probably want to don the pull on the boots and what you're not, or maybe take up coaching. Is that something that you're going to you leave the door open for a possibility down the track, a return?
Yeah. Look, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't. And people have asked me, like, would I take up coaching? But like you said, I'm still quite young, so I don't know where I will be in the next year or two. And that's not to say that I won't play again, but at the moment I can't see it happening. But I'll make an appearance on a Sunday league or something like that, maybe down the track. But for now, I think I'll stick to the sidelines and watch the next generation come through. But yeah, that's not to say I won't have some part to play potentially down the club in the future.
And there's always the Masters Summer League, which is growing and becoming bigger and bigger. And before you know it, you're still a spring chicken, so you're still a while off, but you never know. Who knows? You might end up one day pulling on the dark navy blue of the Rangers and playing with Stuart Begg. But that's, like I said, that's still a long way to go.
Yeah, correct. You never know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I've definitely had conversations about it. That's for sure.
Yeah, awesome, mate. Thank you so much for joining us on the show. All the best for Saturday, the final game of the season against the Melbourne City. It is a bit of a dead rubber, unfortunately, for the Warriors, but for you, hopefully you go out in style and, you don't break a leg or don't injure yourself. We're not going to put the mock on you, But no, wishing you all jokes aside, wishing you all the very, very best. And personally, on a personal note, thank you so much for the collaboration over the years during your time, both in a media sense, both on the show here with the Geelong Advertiser commentary or anything like that. Anytime we needed a comment from you, you were more than happy to provide us. So on a personal note, thank you, Ryan. Really appreciate it.
Been a pleasure, Tonchi, and obviously the work that you guys are doing to really bring light to the local sport is wonderful. So keep it up.
Good on you, mate. All the best, Ryan.
Thanks, Tonchi. Appreciate it.
Ryan Opperman from North Geelong Warriors. After 7 seasons, he's departing Alco Park. There is still one more game, and no doubt, obviously, the best and fairest count this year. He may add to that 2 best and fairest wins and 2 runners-up as well. Okay, folks, when we return, we will be speaking to a very, very special guest tonight. He's the all-time games record holder at the Geelong Rangers, Martin GILFOYLE. For those that do know him, he's an absolute legend of a man, and he's going to be talking after this break about another legend who sadly just recently left us, and we're, of course, speaking about Billy Muir. Don't go away, folks. It is the Geelong Region Soccer Show.
The world is yours. So work hard, and you can have whatever it is you want.
Okay, in this very, very special interview for the Geelong Region Soccer Show, I'm up here at Myers Reserve, home of the Geelong Rangers, of course, and it was a home away for home for the late Billy Muir, and someone that knew him very, very well, and someone that got to know Billy very well over that time, is the games record holder here at Geelong Rangers, Martin GILFOYLE. Martin, thank you so much for joining us on the Geelong Region Soccer Show. How are you and how's life treating you?
Good. Thanks for having me, and life's going very well for me.
Yeah. Now, you played 400 plus games, I'm told, which is an incredible achievement. And obviously, over that time, you've seen so much transformation at Rangers, but it's grown into such a big club. So many juniors. We've got a senior women's team, senior men's team as well.
Yeah.
There's great plans afoot as well to transform this entire complex. Mate, you must be pretty proud of where the club's gone.
Yeah,
or how far it's come.
It's from Amlin Park down in Calvert Street there, where I started as a junior, and to all the facilities that we've got today, and been a lot of work by a lot of people over last 40 years, and of course Billy was one of them sort of people, and but we're really pleased with the development, really happy with where everything's progressing, and it's just up and onwards for ages.
Yeah. Now we asked you to come on the show to pay homage to Billy Muir, the late Billy Muir, who sadly passed away recently. And mate, you knew him quite well. Played with him. Yeah. He was involved in the club. Tell us a little bit about the great man.
Well, there's a lot to tell about him, so I'll try and get as much as I possibly can in as possible. Billy came into the senior setup probably in '79, so from the under-15s. His dad coached the under-15s that year, and they won the championship in Melbourne.
Beautiful.
It was very tough in them days. And he came up with a few other good players like John Coots, Mario J. Tatone, these sort of players. They come into the club, and I say within 12 months, so we'd have been playing reserve, but within 12 months he was in the senior squad.
Yeah.
And from there he just took it on. I think we had a coach called Amy McMeekin at the time, and he loved young players anyway, and we were a very young team, and Billy just became part of that. And
what was the football like back in those days, late 70s, early 80s? Compare it to today, I suppose.
Quite physical. And you had to have your wits about you. You're playing a lot of teams, and I said we were a very young team. And I said Billy had come in there. He was a big lad, but at the same time, he wasn't used to playing against men. But he soon worked it out. And we played a lot of, there was a lot more, I'd say, ethnic teams in them days. A lot of clubs, like South American teams and that. And, we had some quite tough encounters against these teams. I could tell you about one particular game. In fact, Billy scored a hat-trick in this particular game.
Can you remember who it was?
Otham.
Yep.
They're a Chilean team, and very skillful, but also typical South American team. Very, very good at leaving their foot there and that. And we played him one day up here. It was up at Myers Reserve, and it was Amy McMeekin was coach, and we get going well. They're the sort of team you had to be on top of them. You had to be in at them all the time because it was so skillful and they could tear you to pieces. Anyway, we're having a good day, and we got about 4-2 up and got 5-2 up, which is sort of unheard of in them days. And Billy was on a hat-trick. He got put through, I can't remember who, by somebody, and as the ball got through to him, he just punched it with his hand. And we saw it, we thought, oh, ref's going to see this. Yeah. Bang, goal, hat-trick. Of course, Otham, being Chileans, very hot-tempered, very just went berserk, absolute berserk, and sort of a mini riot we sort of had. We all our players went into the centre circle and waited till all the skirmishes calmed down and the supporters calmed down. The referee got control of the game again. Sent a few of their players off, but that's sort of Billy.
Now, the question remains: was the goal recognised?
Yes, of course.
So there we have it. There's a scoop for the Geelong Region Soccer Show. The original hand of God was not Maradona in 1986. It was Billy Muir.
Yeah,
Geelong Rangers.
Yeah, but the kerfuffle it caused afterwards, it's unbelievable. But that was them days, and you're talking about what it was like in them days, and that was it.
Yeah. Can you remember any of the other stories, or maybe stories on trips to Melbourne, or dressing rooms, or really end of season trips or anything like that?
Well, things like that stay on end of season.
Obviously, yes.
And on the bus trips. Look, I can tell you a few things about Billy. Training. He wasn't a great trainer, Billy. Right? He didn't. And everybody knew that. I can tell you a story about him pre-season. In them days, we did a lot of running around Bellbrae still pre-season. You'd be going up to Neil Street, down the bottom, along Anarchy Road, and back up to Braun Avenue, This one time, this particular pre-season, I don't know why, but Billy seemed to always set off late, and then he'd be one of the first players coming back. And we couldn't really work it out. And, I said to Billy, how come you always get back before me? I said, I'm always setting off half. Before you, and you're not, no, I went past you, you were talking to somebody, you were doing this. Well, we found out later, Johnny Barrow, who was our president at the time, Johnny would come up on Tuesday night, about 6:45, 10 to 7, and he was picking Billy up on the way. So Billy was getting picked up down the bottom of the hill. And he'd be saying, Billy got used to Johnny coming up at a certain time. And he'd be going, "Oh, Bill, I'm late for training. John, I'm late for training. Can you just drop me off at training, mate?" Yeah, no worries. So this went on for a few weeks until we finally twigged and gone, I talked to Johnny Barr and he said, "I'll pick Billy up again like I do most Tuesday nights."
Yep.
So, yeah, so that's one of the stories of Billy is sort of training habits.
I guess you did what you had to do to get by, wasn't it?
Yes, he did. It did.
Yeah.
And, look, when he was on the park, it was fine. He pulled his weight. Another story we've got with Billy, because it's just Billy's things happen with Billy off all his way. Billy hated playing in defence. Okay, and this one year we were, I think it was early 80s, I think Duncan Thompson might have been coach. Billy was playing centre half, hated it. Billy's a striker, an out-and-out striker, nowhere else, goal scorer. That was Billy. And I said to Billy one day, I said, "What's the problem with playing in defence for a while, helping out?" And he goes, "Nobody remembers defenders. Nobody remembers goal scorers." So I said, "Oh, yeah, right." Anyway, I think Sean Conway was sweeping this day, and I think I was playing fullback, and Louis May and Ray Friday was playing the other fullback. And anyway, we're playing, I think it was Moreland, and they had a very good striker. Big lad. Good team. They were a good team. Anyway, we're drawing 0-0, and all I heard all day was Sean screaming at Willie, "Pick him up, pick him up, pick him up." Billy's going, I've got him. And Billy's idea of picking somebody up is 10 metres away. That was just the way. So this goes on all day. Sean's getting a horse in the flight, and having to cover Billy and that. So it gets to the last 5 minutes. We get a corner. "Billy, I'm going up front." "Billy, 5 minutes to go, mate. We're going to get a point out of this. It's a good result." "Well, I'll be up front. I'll be back in a minute." Ball coming over, Billy, bang, goal. We win 1-0. Coming off the park at the end of the day, Billy hasn't done his job all day, but he's a hero. All the supporters around Billy cheering Billy, "Willie, well done, you're a champion, well done, fantastic." That's Billy. That was the way Billy worked. That's the way he operated all through, He's,
an illustrious playing career, something like 479 games.
Yep.
That's what it says. There's a photo up at the Myers Reserve club rooms with his photo and some of the games record holders. So he had an illustrious playing career, but off the field as well. Once the playing career finished, he also was heavily involved in the club. He was heavily involved with the neighbouring cricket club as well, the Bellbrae Hill Cricket Club as well.
Yep.
But let's talk about his involvement here at Geelong Rangers. Just name some of the highlights or some of the things that you most remember about his off-field or post-career involvement with Geelong Rangers.
I think Billy was one of the type of people, the members, you really notice them more and you need them more when you're not travelling so well. Now that might be off the park or it might be on the park. And that's when you need your supporters. That's when the team needs the supporters. And it's very easy to support a team when you're winning the league and you're on top of the league, you know what I mean? But when things are not quite right, when finances aren't quite right, that's when you need people. And
great point, yeah.
That was Billy was always around and very good at getting people involved. If we needed to raise funds, and we needed to raise funds, and we had to come up with ideas to do this. Mm-hmm. Billy was really good at that. Very good at designating, by the way, too. I must admit, he was chief organiser, but very good at giving out jobs. But he was there to get things done and encourage the team, and the team, as much as anybody, is going to miss him.